everyone and welcome to Pune Times Mirror. I'm Srujana Deshmukh and today we have with us Professor Aneeta Benninger. So I'm honored to introduce her as she is the founder, trustee and executive director of the Center for Development Studies and Activities. She is a distinguished urban and regional planner and sustainable development professional as well, with advisory experience for the Indian Planning Commission, the Royal Government of Bhutan and various UN agencies. Her current work is focused on balancing development and environment. For example, BDP for Pune Hills and also works for Pune River Front Development. So we are grateful to have you here, ma'am. So
my pleasure.
Yes. So we'll be talking about the recent floods happening in Pune. So what are your initial thoughts on the recent flooding incident in one of the Pune's neighborhoods? How indicative is this of broader urban planning issues within the city?
It's very much a symptom of bad planning.
I think that's
totally indicative of that. Also of people, our government being careless about people.
Okay.
And our people being careless about their own rights and responsibilities. So together, I think we have come here.
Right.
Because we can blame builders, but unless there is a market, builders are not going to be there.
Right.
And we are the market.
Correct. So what are the primary factors, according to you, for this flood right now?
Actually, you must have realized that it's happening all the time now, over the last 10 years, in worse situations than this time. Because if you remember the Ambiloda flood.
2019.
Yeah, it was not... lots of people lost a lot of property and things like that.
Right.
But Ambiloda, the width of Ambiloda was 50 meters, which has been brought down to 8 meters. And the houses were built in Ambiloda. That means land. They think land recovered, but actually that is encroachment.
Right.
In the Oda. So then it's not a flood coming into your house. It's you going into the house of the Oda.
Clearly stated. So residents in various parts of Pune have expressed significant frustration with the poor drainage systems. So from your perspective, what are the main reasons for inadequate drainage infrastructure across Pune?
Actually, drainage infrastructure, artificially created drainage infrastructure, has to be done in a very systematic way.
Okay.
But it has to be done concurrently with the natural drainage. You know, you can't destroy the natural drainage and then try to replace it with artificial drainage. It's also very expensive.
I think that's where problems are arising.
Yes, and it's not even sustainable because you'll have to repair it all the time. Natural drainage, if you don't put garbage in it, it just flows beautifully. You know, it is... Nobody's ever heard of the earth flooding because it has a natural drainage.
Correct.
So it is very important to conserve your natural drainage and strengthen it by additional drainage because our population has increased so much.
Well said, ma'am. The natural drainage needs to be protected.
Yes.
So Pune city has experienced rapid urbanization over past decade, as you know. So how has this growth impacted the city's infrastructure, particularly in the terms of drainage and flood management?
Okay. The thing is, we are not urbanizing. I think that is where I think we need to take another look.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, when the inflation takes place in money market, it means actually the value of the rupee goes down, right? You need more rupees to buy the same thing.
Same things, right.
That's what inflation means.
Right.
Everybody knows that. So what is happening in cities now is that rural poor are migrating to urban areas. So they're coming into urban areas.
Right.
Right? So it's rural poverty which is now becoming urban poverty. Urbanization is not migration of rural poverty into a physical space which is qualified as urban.
Right.
Urbanity is a value, and it is a value of civilization. being civilized,
Right.
being clean, being innovative, being able to live together in close proximity with a lot of people. That's what happens in cities, that we live in close proximity
Right.
with each other. So it's a process of change, urbanization. Whereas what is happening now is we have, some places there is urbanization, but mostly it is urban growth.
Urban growth.
So then what happens is there is no infrastructure for urban growth. See, if urbanization was taking place, let's take the example of Pune. Our forefathers could see that Pune was going to grow.
Right.
So what did they do? They created something called the town planning schemes. And through town planning schemes, what does one do? You do artificially land pooling.
Land pooling.
Okay, and then land redistribution.
Okay, can you throw more light on land pooling
and land redistribution? Yes. So there is no physical pooling of land or no physical redistribution. Right. It's technical, right? So what happens is, we know that we need about 40% of our land to ensure that we have utilities.
Okay.
What kind of utilities? Urbane utilities, not just urban. Urbane. Urbanity is what is important. So what do these utilities consist of? It's water supply, drinking water, sewage, drainage, stormwater drainage, roads,
right,
electricity. So all utilities or trunk services. So these are the services which are provided to sites.
Okay.
So what you do is, when you plan, it's very simple. You look at it as if all the land is together, one piece of land. And then what you do is, you create a base map and you mark where the natural drainage is.
Right.
And you say, okay, this is my natural drainage. Now, where are the sites which are above the natural drainage? So you mark those sites. You mark where are the forests, where are the hills, where everything.
Right.
Landforms, natural landforms.
Correct.
And trees. Everything you mark, and the remaining area you use for construction. So normally the rule of thumb is that 40% is enough to protect all these natural environment. And then you create what is known as a built environment. Okay, that's also environment. And you make really nice places. So you have this land pooling. Then from every person, 40% of land is taken and reconstituted as plots. Okay. These are known as developed plots. Why are they developed? Because you are already providing all the utilities. There are roads, there is electricity, there is sewage, there is drainage, drinking water supply, the works. Right? Also, interspersed within these are amenities and facilities. What are these basic amenities and facilities? It's like health facilities, it's schools, it's parks, it's playgrounds, it's museum spaces, it's everything that we need to be urban. This is how we are different. When you are in an urban situation, it is very different from a rural situation, because these amenities and facilities are not there in rural areas, because the threshold population, the number of people that are required to justify an investment of this kind is not there in rural areas, right? But it is there in urban areas. So when you create that, the town planning scheme, you have urbanization taking place. So if you come to Deccan Gymkhana, which is supposed to be one of the most livable parts of Pune, right? Ferguson College Road, Deccan Gymkhana, etc. This is town planning scheme number 1 in Pune. And it started implementation in 1927, if I'm not mistaken. So this is long-term vision. So those were all, they're known as final plots. The reconstituted plots, they're known as final plots. So 40% of area is already taken. So you will not hear of it flooding in Deccan Gymkhana.
So bottom line is, bad town planning results to flooding.
Absolutely.
So ma'am, you mentioned that we are not urbanizing, right? So in your professional opinion, where do you believe urban planning in Pune has fallen short? Are there specific oversights or mistakes that stand out to you?
Oh yes. Actually, I think since the 90s,
Okay.
mid-90s, after liberalization. One of the bad effects of liberalization was that there was unbridled desire for making money. And with that, people started finding town planning as an obstacle.
Okay.
Because what does town planning do? It regulates. Regulates land use. So if somebody is saying 40% of the land must be kept for your drainage, sewage, utilities,
your utilities,
all these kind of things, then the perception is that we have 40% less land to make money from. So the government of India at one point decided that if you wanted to rehabilitate slums, they are in really tiny. If you have been to a slum, you know that in about 100 square feet, you will have 5-6 people living.
Right.
So they said, no, that is not fair. So let's have 6 square meters of space per capita. So if there is a family of 5, that is 30 square meters of space. 6 square meters is how much? 66 square feet. That is like our bathrooms. Okay. So it's not like it's a very generous entitlement, but it is better than what we have now, which is like 2 or 3 square meters per person. 2.5 like that. So, okay, that is a little better. You know, you have about 50% of Pune now living in Dhuppadpattis.
Right.
So,
and these floods are happening. They are the victims, victim families.
But the floods are happening inside the city.
Right.
They are not happening in the river.
No.
The river is not flooding. The nalas are not flooding.
Exactly. The floods are coming right into their houses.
In the houses. Why are they coming? Not just houses. Where are they located? They are located in upper lands. Right? They are not located inside the river here.
Right.
Not like Ambiloda. No. So why is that happening? That's because what has started happening is that we are building every inch that we can. The builders are building and we are not saying, you're not regulating. So no absorption is taking place.
So the moment we stop monetizing everything,
it will start.
Yeah.
And we have to do it.
Right.
You know, it's not the builders, it's not the government. It's the citizens.
Right.
It's like the current election that took place.
Right.
It is our responsibility. Right. If we start taking our responsibility seriously, we will have good cities.
Right. So what specific measures now you think that PMC, if PMC is responsible, then what measures should PMC take to address and prevent flooding in various areas of Pune? Are there successful examples from other cities that Pune can learn and implement?
Actually, you know, within the city itself, they can learn.
Okay.
They don't even need to go very far.
As you said, the Deccan Gymkhana.
Deccan Gymkhana, you can go to cantonment.
Cantonment, right.
Okay. Have you heard of the cantonment flooding? No.
No.
Because they will have no garbage blocking the drains.
Right.
Okay. Why? The same people live, no? Isn't it? So why are we littering? Why aren't they littering? It's a matter of discipline.
Right.
It's a matter of discipline and it's a matter of actually punishing the people who litter. Government doesn't come and litter. It's the citizens who litter.
True.
So they have to be caught and definitely punished.
Right.
In a big way. The other thing is the road design. Because roads have to have drains on both sides, either side of the road. And that drain, you know, the grading, the slope has to be done properly. What they started doing was when they started repairing roads, instead of, now they are doing a better job because there was a lot of us who fought about it. They didn't take off the surface.
Okay.
Now they're taking it off.
Achha.
And you have to re-sole it. Instead of what they were doing was, they were just pouring tar over it or pouring cement over the existing. So the height of the road increased and the plots were below. So they started flooding.
Absolutely, rightly pointed
So
out.
the road has to be below and your plot has to be slightly higher.
Yeah.
That is the thing. So yes, corporation can do a lot of things.
Right.
But citizens are more responsible. I'm sorry, but We can't blame the government for everything.
No, that's very well said, ma'am. It starts from I.
It is, very much.
So again, citizens are culprits, but also how the practices of real estate developers and construction companies contributed to the current drainage and flooding issues in Pune. Like, what changes would you recommend to improve the situation?
I think we go back to town planning schemes.
Right.
We don't allow the developers or the whatever builders, etc., to do what they like.
The 40% rule should be maintained.
You give them developed plots.
Right.
Corporation should do the town planning scheme. First, corporation town planning department, and then they can build.
Fair.
It has to be like that. Because then everything is taken care of. You can give them higher FSI if you like, I don't care. But then, according to the higher FSI, you make sure that all the norms are met.
Yeah, the utilities are taken care of.
Yes, everything has to be taken care of. So I think the way to resolve this problem now, especially in new areas or even lots of old areas are getting redeveloped.
Right.
What you have to do is you have to have a town planning scheme before you give permission for anything.
Yeah. Fair. So what long-term strategies should Pune adopt to ensure sustainability and resilient urban development? How can the city balance growth with the need for robust infrastructure?
Okay.
I mean, we want development, but again,
but we don't
sustainable.
want inflation.
Right. So how can
So
we
we
achieve
don't
it?
want a population inflation into the city.
Yeah.
Right? So what do we want? We want to spread urbanization. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we don't need to get the villages and sort of put them, in the city. We need to decentralize.
Right.
So bring amenities, facilities, services, town planning schemes, etc. to the surrounding areas. We have the PMR region now, Pune Metropolitan Region. No? And we have a development authority. So what they need to do is they need to ensure that urbanization spreads to the surrounding areas. The people don't move their homes and come to Pune to live. So you develop excellent public transport, fast trains, super fast trains if you like.
Yeah.
Right? Give better amenities, facilities, etc. Education, health, water supply, nice housing, everything. And people can farm. They don't need to come to the city. The ones who want to farm, they can farm.
Yeah.
Those who want to work in the cities can travel, that day. Daily commute you can do and go back.
Absolutely.
Because this place there is no possibility of providing infrastructure. We just don't have the ability to do it. In fact, right now, the city managers are not able to manage the city.
Right.
Because it's out of their hands. They just don't know how to manage it.
And the traffic,
everything.
And the metro.
Because crowding the city doesn't make it urbanized.
Well said, ma'am. Definitely.
Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to stop. We don't need attraction for people to come and live in Pune unless you can give them proper housing and amenities.
Well said. So lastly, of course, coming back to the flooding issue where we started from, what advice would you give to the residents of flood-prone areas in Pune on how they can protect their homes and advocate for better urban planning?
Okay. What they have to do is make sure that the garbage is taken care of.
Right.
Okay. They need to segregate and do a proper job of solid waste management. Not depend on the corporation.
Good. Yes.
Because it is not their job. They are not the ones who are making the littering, or it's not their garbage. They are there to help you.
Right.
It's like we employ people in our houses, domestic servants, to help us.
Right.
Right? It's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility. And because I want to work outside or whatever, I will have some help.
Right.
For an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours or whatever. So similarly, garbage is our responsibility.
Right.
The other thing is participate in making sure that the place is cleaned regularly, that the drains are cleaned regularly. That they don't concrete the entire surrounding of their plots. That they keep gardens.
Right.
so that the water can percolate.
Hmm.
And then it goes into the earth and there is no flooding.
Right.
So these are very small things. Do rainwater harvesting.
Right.
Very small things.
Yeah. So after this conversation, I think we all have understood that we can't just play the blame game.
No.
It's high time we stop playing the blame game. And it starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with we. That's what we have learned.
Yes.
And with that, thank you for watching Pune Times Mirror. And thank you, ma'am, for your valuable insights. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here.